Welcome to your best kept secret to success. I'm Prema, and this is where resonance replaces readiness and your frequency leads the way. Today, we're entering an episode meant to reach those who are sensing the architecture of true expression beginning to rise from within. I want to speak directly to you if you've been feeling quiet lately. Not because you don't have anything to say, but because what you used to say no longer fits. Maybe you've even struggled to articulate what does want to come through. Just know that you're not lost. You're not invisible. You're becoming structurally aligned. This is for those whose voice is quietly returning after a season of silence. It's not here to tell you what to say. It's here to remind you of what's already been lived. You don't need a louder voice. You need a deeper seat. If you're ready to see your soul's gifts reflected back to you with clarity and power, start with the Sacred Wealth Archetype Quiz. It's free and it reveals the archetypal blueprint of your highest value and purpose in the world. The link is in the show notes. Let's begin with the Vedic astrology planetary energies inviting this shift. For my full planetary updates, you can get those on my YouTube channel. But I want to highlight a couple of transits that are really relevant to the current energy and to our topic today. We're in a precise window of Mercury retrograde, the great communicator in the Sacred Wealth Code archetype system. I know, Mercury retrograde. You might think, is Mercury always going retrograde? No, 3 times a year. It's retrograding in Scorpio in Vedic astrology beginning November 9th and lasting through November 29th. This retrograde takes us deep into the undercurrent of our communication, the great communicator, beyond what we say, into why we say it. Why? Scorpio rules transformation, excavation, and hidden truth. That's its true meaning. And Mercury, as the messenger, is not just reviewing how we express, but whether our voice actually arises from embodiment or performance. And then simultaneously, Jupiter goes retrograde in Cancer, where it's exalted, on November 11th. It's a short stay in Cancer. It'll be retrograding back into Gemini, where it's been for this year mostly, since May. And it'll be spending the rest of its time in Gemini until June of 2026. But this short stay in Cancer is very powerful because Jupiter governs wisdom and growth and purpose, dharma. And Cancer is the sacred house of the inner sanctum of nourishment, of soul memory, of family and devotion. And Jupiter is exalted here. It's the perfect place to grow. And together, this is a double retrograde of introspection and truth. These 2 transits, Mercury and Jupiter, mind and meaning, communicator, Mercury, mind, Jupiter, the teacher, the deeper meaning, invite you to reclaim your voice from external performance and return it to soul authority. Not to speak more, but to speak what is true. Let's walk through what that really means. So much has been taught about finding your voice. But what if your voice isn't something to be found, but something to be remembered? If you're in a moment of pause, transition, or deep inner work, and you're wondering what's next, a Vedic astrology reading or a Sacred Wealth Code Vedic astrology reading with me will give you the exact guidance your soul is asking for. We'll look at your chart, your timing, your sacred architecture you've been building behind the scenes. The link is in the show notes. Speak only from what's already been lived. You don't have to perform what you've already embodied. You don't need to sell the truth you're standing in. When your work has become internalized as structure, your presence carries the message long before your words do. The question is, does your voice still serve the version of you that's already transformed? Or are you trying to keep a story alive that your soul no longer resonates with? There was a time in my astrology forecast when I felt the need to explain why a transit was happening, almost as if I was teaching Vedic astrology. I'd go into the mechanics, the planetary rulerships, the house placements, because I thought that's what would help people trust the message. I love to geek out on Vedic astrology because I'm just wired that way. But over time, I realized I'm not here to teach you Vedic astrology. That's not my mission. I'm here to reveal what these cosmic energies activate in you, how they align with your divine timing, and how they mirror your soul design. Once I stopped over-explaining and started speaking directly from the lived resonance, what the energy feels like, how it invites alignment, what it opens, I noticed something shift. More people began to resonate. The message became clearer. The moment I let go of trying to explain, my voice became a mirror. And that's when others truly began to see themselves in it. This is the end of performed authority. We are living behind the era of performance as proving. You don't need a signature voice if your soul tone already speaks. So many conscious leaders, especially sacred wealth architects, have been trained to perfect the message, calibrate the content, rehearse the line. But the real field knows when something is lived and when it is postured. When authority arises from embodiment, it doesn't require convincing. Performed authority is like shouting instructions from a balcony. Embodied authority is like walking the road and letting Others follow the imprint of your footsteps. Your voice now carries structure, not just frequency. In earlier stages, frequency was enough. You could feel truth and share it. Now, you're becoming the encoded form. The sacred structure is inside of you. What you speak must match the internal architecture you've built. That's why your voice may feel quieter. It's not fading. It's densifying. It's growing in gravity. You don't need to say as much because your field is saying it for you. This is a return to coherence, not charisma. There was a time when I would look at someone's sacred wealth code and feel compelled to explain all their gifts to them, to describe every archetype, every expression, every potential strength. But when the sacred wealth archetypes really landed, the 23 archetypes in the sacred wealth code system, they came in as a soul language, and everything changed. I realized I didn't need to explain them. I just needed to offer them. When I simply spoke the archetype, like the teacher, the communicator, the leader, the strategist, and its mantra, its essence, its purpose. Each archetype has all of those. They didn't need me to interpret it. The archetype itself spoke directly to their soul through their own reference system, and it awakened an inner knowing that no explanation could reach. That's when I understood these archetypes are not information. They are remembrance codes. They activate recognition through resonance, not reasoning. And that's when my work shifted from translation to transmission, from teaching about the archetype to letting the archetype speak through me. And yes, I do answer your questions in a Sacred Wealth Code reading. The sacred pause between silence and voice. Currently, Mercury retrograde in Scorpio invites a sacred pause. It's the moment before you speak, where you ask, is this true? And even beyond this transit, it's a powerful thing to remember. Jupiter retrograde in Cancer brings soul memory to the surface. And together they call you into soul voice, not just self-expression. Soul voice doesn't fill silence, it arises from it. And so this season, you may find that you speak less, but more powerfully. You may stop posting, performing, pushing, only to discover that those who are meant to hear you already are. This is the echo in the cathedral, the voice that carries not because it's loud, but because the space was shaped to hold it. Speak when the field is ready, not when you feel pressure. You're not here to broadcast. You're here to transmit when the resonance aligns. You may be feeling the pull inward. You may also feel the desire to retreat. That's not resistance. It's sacred sequencing. You're no longer in marketing. You're in the membrane alignment. Speak when it's yours to speak. Rest when the structure is already singing. Your soul voice has nothing to prove. It only speaks when the structure is ready to receive it. If this is speaking to you, you may already be inside the Sacred Wealth Mastery field. It's not a program. It's a field. The invitation is open. We're going to move into our archetype reading from the Sacred Wealth Code Archetype Deck. Your Sacred Wealth Code deck, book, and journal are all available on my website and on Amazon. We have two archetypes that have come forward. And the first one is the sage. And this is another one of Jupiter's archetypes. We had the teacher earlier. And the mantra here is, the truth will set me free. And yes, it will. So the sage is here to remind us to speak only the truth. And so when we're speaking only the truth, what's yours to speak, then there may be a lot that you're not speaking into anymore. That's not necessary. And that silence, the sage holds that space of the pause in between, the silence in between. And that is a very potent place. So the sage is reminding you to be in the pause, in the space between the words, the space between our thoughts, and to occupy with your energy the space instead of explaining about it. Say what's only meant for you to say. The other archetype that's coming in is the administrator. I walk with a foot in both worlds. The administrator, Saturn's an energy of less is more, and an energy of the truth or consequences. Because Saturn, the administrator, is a leader that knows how to allocate and knows that there's no step in the outer world or word to speak that is truly called for unless it is inwardly aligned, a foot in both worlds. When we're not aligned on the inside, what we speak may not be aligned, and vice versa. So, what you're called for with the administrator is to remember, when you're feeling that pause, that quietness, and your feet are planted firmly in the inner world, there may be less to say, or what you used to say doesn't fit anymore, but stand strong in your frequency and wait until what's true arises and wants to be spoken. Saturn is said to develop our patience and our perseverance, and another ability to be precise, not perfectionist. And it does that by distillation. So let's do our integration practice, because it's important to come into embodiment for whatever has landed for you today. So take a moment, if you've got the space, to be able to close your eyes. Put your hand on your heart. Come inward. Drop into the center of truth. Sit in the quiet before voice. Take a deep, full breath. Allow your mind to slide all the way down to your heart, down through your nasal cavity, the top of your throat, the base of your throat, the top of your chest, right down into the very center of your chest. Swallow. Take a deep breath and land. And let these two prompts drop into your heart. Trust what floats up. What part of me is still trying to get it right? Just let that part speak. And what part of me already knows what to say, but no longer needs to say it? Now listen. Not for the next message to share, but for the frequency that's already being carried without your effort. Listen to that current beneath everything that's already being carried without your effort. Let that become your speech. You're not just speaking. You are anchoring geometry with your tone. You are sanctifying the field with your soul's coherence. You are invited to remember you're not the broadcaster. You are the resonance keeper. Your voice is not content, it's consecration. If you're longing for personal clarity to align with your soul's timing and gifts, a sacred wealth code reading or a soul blueprint reading will reflect the codes already written in your chart. They're not predictive tools, they are sacred mirrors. You'll receive your sacred wealth code archetypes, your highest gift, and a clear map of the structural timing of your path. You'll find the link in the show notes, and the link for everything in the show notes. If this conversation has opened something in you and you feel the resonance to walk in deeper alignment, you're invited to the next full moon coherence circle, always held on the full moon. This is not a ritual or a healing. It's a sacred field of refinement where timing, rhythm, and remembrance align. I appreciate you subscribing, following, or sharing this podcast with someone who walks this path with you. If you're on Apple Podcasts, I'd love if you'd left a review. Your words help others find this resonance. And if you're listening on Spotify or YouTube, you can like this, listening or watching, and leave me a comment. I read them all. I thank you for being here. And remember, your soul already carries the blueprint for your wealth and for your purpose. When you align with that, the right people, opportunities, and resources will align in perfect timing and in perfect sequence. I'm so grateful to have this time with you, and so much love to you.